Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new video here on the second channel. And today I'm going to be breaking down my World Championship 2025 predictions here. I'm going to be talking about what I think is going to win the tournament, what decks have the best chance of doing well, what people might bring, and what innovations we might see within the meta overall. I'm super excited for this tournament. Obviously, Worlds is going to be the biggest tournament of the year. It's going to be pretty cool to see what actually does well, considering how the meta has evolved in the online tourney scene. And I think that this tournament will be a big one for sure. I'm super excited for it all to go down. If y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below if you enjoy the content here. Let me know what your predictions for the World Championships are. What deck do you think is going to win the tournament? Let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, let's break it down. So starting off, we got Gardevoir, which I think is probably the best deck for the tournament. Like, Guardy is going to be very good. There's a few different variations of Gardevoir. I think the most commonly played one right now will be the just more normal approach with the Drifloon in the deck. I think Drifloon does give you a little bit more of an advantage right now in a lot of matchups, but I think the Drifloon is going to be the most common way Guardy will be played. If your opponent flips over a Rulls this weekend at Worlds, don't be surprised if, you know, there is a Drifloon in the deck. There's definitely going to be Drifloon. So Guardy definitely is the best deck. I'm pretty sure most top players are going to be on it. I can see a lot of people playing it from North America. I think Henry Chow, obviously, his group might bring it. Like, people like Isaiah Bradner and them might bring it. I could definitely see some of the people from Japan playing it too. It's definitely a chance that Guardy ends up being very popular and has the best chance of winning Worlds. 100%, I think Guardy is the deck that could win the World Championships. But there are the variations. The other build I think that could be common is the Fluttermane approach to the deck, using Fluttermane with TM Devo to help against the Gholdengo matchup. Gholdengo will be big this weekend. There's going to be a lot of Gholdengo at Worlds, and I think that the Fluttermane approach is going to be very powerful into Gholdengo. So you definitely got to also expect the Fluttermane build of the deck to be popular. I definitely could see Guardy playing like a Fluttermane Drifloon approach, because I do think you need the Fluttermane Devo package to at least have a fighting chance against Gholdengo. Gholdengo is by far Gardevoir's worst matchup on paper, besides maybe Charizard. I think that having Flutter Devo does make it a lot more easy to beat Gholdengo. But yeah, Guardy with Flutter will probably see some play this weekend. It's kind of hard to predict which one of the two builds will be more common, the Drifloon build or the Fluttermane build, or just playing both. And then Guardy Jelly. This one's weird. I don't know if Jellicent Guardy is going to actually do that well. I don't know if anyone's actually trying this deck and making it work. It's not really doing anything right now. It's not a bad deck. The deck is very powerful. It's very strong. The Jellicent just doesn't seem to be very common anymore. I think a lot of players on Guardy have just been like, yeah, Jellicent is kind of mid, doesn't really do much for the deck other than, you know, giving you a little bit of an easier time into like maybe the Mirror and then maybe the Gholdengo matchup. But even then, Gholdengo has like Lavencia and they have like quad bosses order. It's just not very easy to beat. So I think that the Jelly Guardy deck definitely has fallen off, and I don't think this deck will be very common. It might do well. Like, I could definitely see somebody maybe making like a top 32 run, or maybe somebody will catch somebody off guard and play this deck to a good success. I just don't see the Jelly Guardy build in top 8 at the World Championships. I just don't think it's going to happen. Next up, we have Dragapult. Pulnor is dominating right now in the online tournaments. There's a very good chance Pulnor ends up being the most played deck in the room by a lot of the top players. Like, I think a lot of big players are playing Pulnor this weekend. So definitely this deck will be very common. And this deck, besides Gardevoir, probably does have the best chance of winning Worlds. I think that Pulnor can beat almost anything. The Guardy matchup is still like a little tricky. Like, it's not a guaranteed win or anything because you have the Ghosts in your deck, but the Ghosts do give you a better time in a Guardy. I can definitely see Pulnor doing well this weekend. I, without a doubt, can see this deck actually winning Worlds. Besides Gardevoir, I think the 3 decks to win Worlds are probably Dragapult, Pulnor, and then maybe Snarl. Those are the 3 decks that I predict can win the tournament. Pulnor is very powerful. A lot of top players are playing it right now. It's been winning a lot of online tournaments. It's been very common in online tournaments. This deck definitely is going to do well at Worlds for sure. We're going to see one of these in top 8 bare minimum. Honestly, there's a good chance that like 2 or 3 decks of the top 8 at Worlds will be Dusk or Dragapult decks. Definitely will happen. I think the Straight Pull deck is still solid. It's not bad. I think that it maybe is slightly worse than the Pulnor build, just because you do take a worse Guardy matchup, which I don't think you want to be doing at the World Championships. I think Straight Pulled is like perfectly just fine right now. I don't even know if Tord will play the deck. Like, Tord might play Pulnor, or he might play Straight Pulled. If he even plays Dragapult, who knows? He might play Gholdengo or Charizard or something crazy like that. But yeah, I do think that Straight Pulled is like fine. I don't think we're going to see much Straight Pull do well. I think Pulnor is just going to dominate the tournament, to be honest with you. Like, I think Guardy and Straight Pull, or Pulnor, are just going to dominate Worlds. I don't really think straight Pult will do well. If Tor does play it, we'll see one in top 8, but I just don't see this deck doing as well as Pultnor. Straight Pult can tech itself out to help in certain matchups, obviously, like having Maractus in the deck, having maybe Baby Genesect to help against Goldengo, maybe even playing a 1-1 Clops line, maybe playing the Elgin we've been seeing. I just don't think the deck is as good as Pultnor, and I think Pultnor will be the most represented version of Dragapult. And I don't even know if one will make top 8. Goldengo. Talk about a deck that'll make top 8. Goldengo is going to be great this weekend. There's going to be a lot of Goldengo. It actually, besides maybe Pult, this will probably be the most popular deck at the tournament. We'll get into like my predictions of what the most played deck will be, but I do expect there's going to be a lot of Goldengo this weekend. It's very much going to be one of the most played decks in the room. Goldengo is weird though, because it does take a lot of like weird matchups. It loses to a lot of like the jank, like Crussell, Typhlosion. Flareon's not a great matchup, but Flareon beats other decks, not just like Goldengo. So Goldengo does have a target on its back this weekend. People are going to tech for it. We're going to start seeing potentially Devos and stuff going into decks. Obviously, we're going to see more fire this weekend. Goldengo is a very ballsy play, but I think it's still a very good deck regardless. And you can build a Goldengo deck to somewhat counter the counters. You can't really do anything against Crussell. You can't really do anything against Typhlosion, but you could definitely play more attackers if you want to keep up. Like, I definitely like Scizor EX right now in Goldengo. Like, if I was bringing Goldengo to Worlds, I would be playing a one of Scizor EX in the deck, at least just to give me a better chance against Cornerstone. You could even put a Cornerstone in your Goldengo deck to help in the mirror. The most common way to play the deck right now is the Brent Tonneson build here with like the 1-1 Scizor, Monkey Dory, Baby Genesect. They're not really teching hard for Cornerstone. Goldengo is super easy to counter, but I still think this deck will do well. We'll see probably one Goldengo in top 8. Maybe one of the big Goldengo players like Yella or Ela will do well with this deck at the tournament this weekend. I think that will most likely happen. It's going to be one of the most played decks in the room. Goldengo's easy to counter. Guardy and Pult are going to be built to beat Goldengo. Goldengo has to get over a couple hurdles. I don't think it can actually win. Bro, as much as I love Goldengo and I want this deck to win Worlds, it would be amazing if it did. I don't know if Goldengo's going to win Worlds, unfortunately, because it's going to be teched against, and that's going to really hold it back. It is a risky play just because of how easy this deck is to counter. This deck is getting hard countered right now, and I feel like most players are going to build their deck to beat Goldengo, right? So, yeah. It's a tough play, but I can definitely see it still making top 8, for sure. I think Grimmsnarl is another deck that I have very high on my radar right now of decks that have a chance of winning the tournament. Like Grimmsnarl, like on paper, beats Dragapult. It beats Gardevoir. The Goldengo matchup, I think, is actually very iffy because of the quad boss and stuff, but I think Grimmsnarl can still beat a Goldengo deck. Like, it's not an unlosable matchup or anything. Like, the deck can still beat Goldengo. You could even try, like, 3 Frostlass just to keep up in the Goldengo matchup, because the deck only beats Goldengo if you have Frostlass on the board. So, I do like Grimmsnarl for Worlds. I think this deck could win the tournament, in all honesty. I think a few top players will be bringing it, for sure. I think we'll see one Grim at least in top 8. Again, this could be a deck that wins Worlds. I wouldn't be surprised if Grimmsnarl won the World Championships. I wouldn't be surprised if Dragapult won the World Championships. And I wouldn't be surprised if Guardy won the World Championships. These powerful Stage 2 spread attackers with a bunch of monkeys are the decks to beat this weekend, are the decks to play this weekend, and have the highest win percentage. Grimmsnarl, its worst matchup by far is probably just going to be Joltic. That's it. Taking a bad matchup with Joltic, not a bad thing. That's really good in my opinion. And then Grim can beat almost anything else. Next up, we have Zard. This is, in my opinion, the hottest deck, as you probably saw by a few videos I've posted. This is the hottest deck for Worlds. Charizard's really underrated, in my opinion. It takes a good matchup into Goldengo, and takes a pretty good matchup into Gardevoir. I think that if you're playing Charizard, you got to play the Mist Energy, so you're not going to lose immediately to Devo. The one thing holding this deck back is how good Pultnor is. Pultnor will be very well represented this weekend by a lot of top players. So if you're playing Charizard Pidgeot to the tournament, keep in mind you are walking into a room full of Pultnor. Outside of that, I think this deck can beat nearly anything in the format except for Pultnor. Zard is a very strong deck. I think it's a great pick for this weekend. Dodge all the Pultnors, and you're going to have a good run. This is another deck that honestly could sneak its way into top 8. I don't know if it can win Worlds, because like I said, Pultnor will be in top 8 most likely, at least 2 or 3 of them, but this deck definitely could make top 8. I would not be surprised if Zard made top 8. Pulsard's the other variant of Zard that I think is pretty solid. Once again, well, actually, this deck I think has a better Pultnor matchup than Pidgeot Charizard, but not by much. Like, the deck at the end of the day will still be unfavored in a Poltnor. It's not unwinnable because you have your own Dragapult, which gives you a bit of a fighting chance in that matchup. But yeah, this deck, I think, is still solid. PulZard's pretty good. I don't know which Zard build will be more common this weekend. I think Pidgeot Charizard will be slightly more playable or played than PulZard, in my opinion. PulZard will probably do well still, like top 8, maybe. I think PidgeZard will probably make top 8. I think more top players are more gassing that deck up. Like Tord and Gabriel Fernandez have been high on that deck. I think PidgeZard is going to be more played than PulZard, but PulZard is still a pretty solid deck. And at least you're taking a slightly better Poltnor matchup. And then we have the Dusk deck. This deck, I think, isn't great. It's not bad. It destroys Gengo, and it's actually pretty good in a Gardevoir. But outside of that, it's like, I don't know. I feel like you have to play the Dragapult or the Pidgeot. I don't know. I don't really like this deck. I don't think this deck will do that well. Maybe 1 or 2 in day 2, but I don't see it going any farther than like maybe top 64 at best. I think Raging Bolt is cool for this weekend. Not the greatest pick ever. It's a very much one of those decks where like you just have to like high roll, do well enough. It's still okay into Goldango. It's pretty good into Straight Bolt, in my opinion, if you tech for the Maractus. But like outside of that, it's like kind of mediocre. It still loses to like random stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know. Raging Bolt is fine. It's just one of those decks where like it can do well because it just is a great fast deck that can easily run your opponent over before they set up. It can really punish you for having slow starts. I just don't think Raging Bolt is like going to win the tournament. Like, there could be 1 or 2 in top 8, or at least 1 in top 8. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 Raging Bolt made top 8. And then we got Joltic Box. This is the other deck that I think is definitely pretty good for this tournament, but not great. I think Joltic Box is one of those, like, it's like Goldango in a way where it's easy to counter and it's very easy to beat if you know how to play against it, but at the same time, it's also very strong because it high rolls and wins games very easily because of how high rolly it is. Like, that amp you very much. Punishing slow starts is really good. I think Joltic Box is actually a better play for this weekend than Raging Bolt. In my opinion, I would rather play Joltic Box over Raging Bolt just going into this tournament because I am looking to have a better time into Snarl and stuff and Goldango, right? This deck, I think, beats Goldango. I don't think they're going to tech Venture Bomb. Maybe they'll tech Venture Bomb. I don't see it happening, but I think Joltic Box is a decent deck for Worlds. I don't think this deck is bad at all. I could definitely see Joltic Box doing well this weekend. But I don't think any like big name players are going to be on it, but I do think we'll see one do at least decent. And then we got Flareon, in my opinion, the most underrated deck to play to Worlds. Yes, you do have a shaky Guardy matchup, which is not great. I personally have been trying out Umbreon in my build, and I've been liking the Umbreon a little bit this week. I mean, I think I did a deck profile video on this deck, so if you want to see more of that, you definitely check that out. But I think this deck is solid, very underrated. It beats Goldango pretty easily. It's pretty solid into Grimmsnarl, thanks to Leafeon. Your Pult matchup is not bad either. Poltnor is probably going to be a little bit more difficult than like straight Pult, obviously, but I think Flareon is a pretty solid deck for Worlds. I think there will be a few players who will bring it to a decent run. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this deck actually snuck its way into top 8. I definitely think that might happen. Typhlosion. Okay, look, this deck is really cool. I like how Typhlosion is actually really powerful and doing well right now. It's only doing good because it just cleans Goldango. Like, Goldango doesn't stand a chance against this deck. The problem is, this deck loses to Gardevoir, Grimmsnarl, and Dragapult. Especially Poltnor. This deck, like, cannot be Poltnor at all, unless the Poltnor player, like, somehow prizes, like, their Dusknors. The deck's, like, impossible. It's like, you're never beating Poltnor. The problem with that is that you're going into the tournament where you're playing against the best players in the world who are going to play the best and most powerful decks, like Guardy, Grimmsnarl, Dragapult. This deck is not going to do well at Worlds. I think we'll see maybe one make top 32. Honestly, top 16 is not out of the realm of possibility either. I would not be surprised if Typhlosion flopped. This deck is getting gassed up right now. A lot of people are playing it because it's a fun one-prize deck. But in reality, if you're bringing this deck to Worlds, you're probably not going to do well because you're just going to lose to the best players. Yes, you can go on a run and hit a bunch of Goldango, but you can also hit a bunch of, like, players on Dragapult and Gardevoir, and then you're going to get bodied. Like, if you start off the you hit 2 Goldango round 1 and 2 of the tournament. And round 3, you hit, like, a big-name player playing Poltnor. That's not fun. I don't think the deck is bad, because at the end of the day, Typhlosion does do well into, like, other decks. I don't think your matchup into Joltic Box is that bad. Your matchup into Raging Bolt is pretty good. That's another good matchup. You have a decent time into the Charizard deck, too, in my opinion, if they're not playing Dragapult or Dusknor. But outside of that, like, you're just losing to the, like, the big 3 spread decks, like, and those are going to be some of the most played decks in the room, played by the best players in the world. Like, even if you have a good start, you're just going to hit them and you're going to do bad. Typhlosion, I don't think is going to do well this weekend. It's most likely going to flop a little bit. It's not going to make top 8. Now, I could be wrong. It could make top 8. I'm just putting the bold prediction out. This deck is not going to do that great. Even though it's really cool that it's good right now, it's just not beating those big 3 decks. Unless somebody maybe cracks the deck, I guess. I don't know if that's going to happen. Another deck I think is fairly underrated is Enzor. This is a deck that is a very skillful deck, but I think it's actually pretty solid. Your Gholdengo matchup is a little shaky, but you do have the Darmanitan. I like this build here. I saw it in an online tournament. I think this build's pretty good. I think Hilda's a great upgrade to the deck because you can easily find your Darmanitans and your Reversal Energy. Darmanitan, in my opinion, is the most useful card to play right now in the deck, just because it does give you a lot of agency against a lot of decks. I don't think Shaman's very common right now either. A lot of decks are cutting Shaman, which I think is a really good thing for Darmanitan. I really like Enzor. I think this deck is pretty solid. I can definitely see somebody doing well with it, maybe making top 8. It's another one of those, like, this could make top 8 type decks, like Flareon. Crussell. Okay, look. Crussell's cool, but you lose to Dragapult, Dusknoir, and you lose to Gardevoir. Like, those matchups are nearly unwinnable. Once the Dragapult Dusknoir player realizes that you can attack with Dusknoir in that matchup with Neo Upper, it's cooked, man. It's chalked. Crussell is a bad deck to bring to Worlds, in my opinion, but I'm sure we'll see somebody have, like, a day 2 finish with it. But I don't think this deck is that good. It's a more of an online tournament type deck, less of a Worlds Championship type deck. This Ogre Box deck is kind of cool, too. We haven't seen the same person doing well with it, and I think it's a decent deck. It beats Gholdengo, but, like, outside of that, I think it's, like, a little iffy. Obviously, your matchup in a Guardy is pretty bad. Your Dragapult Dusknoir matchup, I think, should be pretty unfavored, too. It's not a terrible deck, though, and I don't think it's the worst deck in the format that will do well. I think it's probably a better play than Typhlosion, to be honest with you, but I don't see this deck doing, like, amazing. But if the person playing this deck always does well at Worlds, wouldn't surprise me. Another deck I wouldn't be surprised if that did well is, like, Ho-Oh Armor Rouge. I know there's, like, a group of players gassing the deck up. This is another really cool deck for the tournament, but it's a little shaky. I don't know if you're really beating Poltnor, but I don't know, like, seems okay. I think Ho-Oh Armor Rouge is fine. I think we'll see somebody maybe make a top 32 World Championship run with this deck. Some surprise picks I got. 2 sneaky picks I have is Maridon. Maridon will most likely, I mean, okay, I don't think it's going to do as well as it did last year at Worlds, but I wouldn't be surprised if a couple players who like Maridon had a decent run at Worlds with this deck. It's possible. I don't think the deck is actually that good compared to Raging Bolt or Joltic Box, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had an okay run with the deck, right? It's possible it could happen. Day 2 finish for Maridon. It might be real. And then we have Sarah Ledge EX, which I think is a really fascinating deck right now because it's a fast type of deck that, much like Gholdengo, can just kind of run the opponent over really easily. It's good into Gholdengo, so that's good. You're playing like a Gholdengo deck that beats Gholdengo pretty easily. That's pretty nice. Another like surprise pick I have here is that Sarah Ledge deck. This deck I do kind of like, and I think it's kind of cool. It's not bad in my opinion. You're not even that bad in a Gardevoir, believe it or not. Like if you just play heavy Jamming Tower, I think your Guardy matchup is at least slightly close to maybe like 50-50. All right, going into the tier list predictions I got here. I'm not going to tier list. I mean like predicting what will do well. So the most popular deck in the room is either going to be Dragapult or Gholdengo. Good chance Gholdengo is honestly like 13 to 14% of the meta. We'll go 14%. Everyone loves Gholdengo. Gholdengo's fun to play. It's also a great play for Worlds. Again, it's easy to counter, but I definitely can see Gholdengo being at least like a 14% deck. Combining the Dragapult builds together, like in general, Dragapult could be 15%. I mean, it's going to be close between Dango and Pult. I think both decks will be at least very well represented. One of those two decks will probably be the most played deck at the tournament. Dragapult has a better chance of being more popular because there's more variations of it, where there's only one variation of Gholdengo. So I'll probably give Dragapult the benefit of the doubt and give it like, maybe like, honestly, like a 16-17% meta share, where Gholdengo will probably be around like 13-14%. Gardevoir probably will be the next most played deck at like 11 to 12% of the room, because Gardevoir is really powerful. When all the best of the best are going to this tournament and they want to play the best deck that has the best chance of winning them the entire tournament, Gardevoir will be played. Guardy is usually not as popular at the regionals, but at Worlds specifically has a better chance of being more popular. What else could be popular? Snarl, probably like around 9 to 10%. We'll give it, I'll probably go 9%. I think actually Raging Bolt could be more of like a 9% or 2. Like I could see Bolt and Grim both being in that 9% range, 8 to 9%. Grim is not as popular as it was for NEIC. I think a lot of people are just kind of down on the deck right now. But I think the deck is still very solid. It's one of those, like, I don't think it's quite underrated because it will still be represented, but I just think that it's like kind of slept on in a way where it's not completely like underrated. Charizard If we're combining like Charizard together, we'll classify as like Charizard Pidgeot, I guess. Charizard Pidgeot. Altogether, Charizard could be like a 9% deck. It's possible. Zard could be in the same range as Raging Bolt and Grimmsnarl. Or Raging Bolt maybe is more of an 8%. That 9% is a little too high for Raging Bolt. But Charizard definitely could be a 9%er for sure. What else? Typhlosion. I mean, give it like a 3%. Maybe I'll be nice, give Typhlosion 4%. I don't see Typhlosion being that popular. 4% is probably about accurate for Typhlosion. Joltic Box could be a 6% deck. Maybe honestly even 7%. Yeah, you know what? We'll go 7%. Okay, I remember it's Worlds. I don't know if the best players in the world are really thinking about Joltic Box right now in that way, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe like 7% in that range is where it's going to be. I mean, everything else is kind of just like niche. Like Flareon, probably like 2%. Crussell, 2%. Ho-Oh Armor Rouge, 2%. Everything else is like a 2% deck. I don't know if I was missing any other decks for this tier list. Everything else could just be under like other like Maridon, Ceruledge, Roaring Moon is another one. Any other like one prizer deck out there. They're kind of in that like 2% range. Like Ogre Box, for example, like the Ogre Pawn Terra deck. That's like another one of those like 2%ers. Those are all like 2% decks. Everything else, I think this is like fairly accurate. There's a good chance Dragapult will be the most played deck in the room, but Gholdengo will be very close behind it. Probably a couple percentages off. Gardevoir will be popular because best players in the world are going to this tournament. They're going to be playing a deck like Gardevoir. So that'll kind of round out my predictions. Again, the deck that I think can win the tournament is either going to be Dragapult, Gholdengo, or Gardevoir, Dragapult, or Grimmsnarl. I don't know if Gholdengo can win Worlds. I like Gholdengo a lot. Gardevoir, though, definitely has the best chance of winning the entire tournament. So those are my predictions for Worlds. I think, you know, we'll see who else gets top 8 this weekend. I'm sure we'll see some players from Japan in top 8. Tord might get top 8 again. I'm sure Tord has put in a lot of extensive testing for Worlds. I could definitely see Tord making top 8. Henry Chow, Isaiah Bradner definitely could be in top 8 too. Those are two players that have been having a really good season. Henry Chow specifically, I think, has a really good chance of making top 8 because I'm sure he's figured out a cracked Guardy list for this tournament. I think it would be awesome to see Henry Chow, you know, cap off his year with that top 8, maybe even winning Worlds. That's definitely something that I would love to see happen. But I hope you enjoyed the video here on my meta predictions for the World Championships. Again, what is your predictions? What do you think is going to win the tournament? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and all the good stuff. I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.